All right, so we're going to talk about 2A briefly today. So, um, now we are finding the slope on the graph. So previously, we have talked about the types of slope. So we had positive slope, that if you go from left to right, it goes up. Negative slope, if you start on the left-hand side, it goes down as you move to the right. So if you start on the furthest left, as you move to the right, that line has gone down. Then we have zero slope, which is horizontal, straight left and right, and then undefined is straight up and down. So we talked about slope as rise over run, or the change in y over the change in x value. So the trick in this today is really being very careful when we're counting on our graphs. So I've kind of zoomed in on number one here, and the first thing I want us to notice that if I put my pen here on the furthest left point of the line that's still on the graph, as I move to the right, that line is going up. Therefore, it's a positive slope. So I know right away I have a positive slope here. Now, the next thing I want to look at here is I'm going to put a dot right here. They have dots, but they're kind of hard to see. So these are the points they gave us. Now, using these points, all I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line that goes straight up and down through this point, and one that goes straight left and right through this top point. Now, I could do it either way. So if I didn't do them that way, let's say I wanted to go straight up and down on the point to the left and do the opposite of what I just did. That's totally fine as well. I'm going to get the same answer either way. So the reason I do it the other way is because in slope, we're dealing with rise over run. So I always like to look at the rise first, the vertical distance first. It just helps me to stay organized. So my final answer is going to be a fraction. It's going to be a number, how much we're going up, and then the bottom is going to be a number, how much we are going to the right. So what I'm looking for when I do this, I have made my lines going straight up and straight left from each point. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to count to this point here where they intersect. So I'm just going to count, and I'm going to say, starting at this bottom red point here, I'm going to say we're going up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So our rise is 7. So my top number is going to be 7. Now I'm going to switch over and I'm going to look at my run. This time I'm going to start at this black dot up here and count to the right. So the run is 1, 2, 3, 4. So my run is 4. Now, since we already identified that this is a positive slope, I would just leave my answer as 7 over 4, and that would be it. I could say positive 7 over 4 if I want to. It's not necessary when it's a positive. We just absolutely have to put it in if it's a negative. So, moving on to number 2, we're going to do the same exact thing. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to highlight the 2 points they give us just because they're kind of hard to see. And then I'm going to put my pen over here at the furthest left point on the graph. And as I move it to the right, I can see that that line is moving down, which means this is a negative sloped graph. So my answer is going to be negative. Now, I'm going to go ahead and draw in. I'm going to say negative because my final answer is going to be negative. And then I'm going to put in my little fraction because I know I'm going to put my rise on top and my run on bottom. So I'm going to put in a line straight up and down from this left point, because that is my rise. That's where I'm going to count my rise. And then my run is going to go straight left and right through this second point. And now I'm going to color this in and just show where they intersect. So I'm counting from this top red dot down to the black dot to figure out my rise. My rise is going to be 1, 2, 3. So I have a rise of 3. Now I'm going to count my run by going from that black dot over to the right to that second red dot. And it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So my run is going to be 9. So my rise was 3, so 3 goes on top. My run was 9, that goes on bottom. And I can leave my answer like that. It's not the best answer because I could simplify this. Instead of saying 3 over 9, I could divide the top and bottom by 3. So I could simplify this to -1 over a third. And that would really be the best answer for this second one. But either would technically be correct, but I would rather see that -1/3. And if you do -1 ABC button 3, or I'm sorry, -3 ABC button 9 equals in your calculator, it will tell you what the simplified version of that fraction is. Okay. So that's kind of a brief, quick version of how we calculate our slope here. The key is to just really take your time and be careful counting those lines. We'll do one more just for good measure. So anyway, I'm going to go from the furthest left point on this line. As I move to the right, I see that line has gone up. Therefore, my slope's positive, so I'm just going to note that down here. It's positive slope. Now I'm going to highlight the 2 points that they gave us. And then I'm going to draw my lines in. So my first one, I'm going to go straight up and down for my rise. My second one, I'm going to go to that second red dot, and I'm going to go straight left and right, theoretically straight. And where these intersect, I'm just going to put a little black dot. And now my next job is I just have to count my rise and my run. Well, actually, let's pause. So I'm going to put in my little fraction bar over here, just so that's ready for me. So if I count from my red dot to my black dot, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My rise is 5. I'm going to put 5 on top of the fraction bar. Now my run, starting at the black dot and going to the other red dot, is 1, 2, 3, 3. So I'm going to put 3 on the bottom of my fraction bar. Now, this is not in most reduced form, but this would be the best answer. And the reason for that is when we're writing slope, we prefer to leave it as an improper fraction. So we would rather have 5 over 3 than 1 2/3. And we'll see why that is later on in our next grid. Well, I guess towards the end of this grid and in our next grid. It's for when we start writing equations. So we would rather see it written like it is up top. Once again, 1 2/3 technically isn't wrong, but 5/3 is just a better answer for slope for us. I hope this helps. If you have any questions, please let me know so we can meet for Zoom, or I can make more videos.